Unit CDW suspect alcohol and AIDS with no Hispanic gender, black pants armed with a machete, chasing him in a white red shirt, code 3 incident 4451 or D1307.
Hello and welcome to the Scientology Money Project with your host, Jeffrey Augustine, licensed private investigator. Hey, I wanted to come on and, as the title says, there's a PI Grapevine. Not everyone gets along, and it's, there's this Grapevine, word is out, from Hollywood, Sunset Strip, Holmby Hills, Beverly Hills, West LA. I have a police scanner on in the background. Sunset Strip, a couple places there, Hollywood Hills, out to Calabasas. Down, it's just like people who are, let me turn this down. People who might have went to the freak off for P Diddy. The word is out that that right now private investigators, lawyers, crisis management experts, and fixers. And I'll explain what a fixer is. They're all in very high demand all of a sudden on both sides of the P Diddy scandal that's blowing up. And basically, if you were involved in a freak off, if you were involved in a freak off, you might hire a PI, or you might have your lawyer hire the PI to find out what the feds have on you. That's usually why lawyers hire PIs, is to find out. Hey, go look online, because there's a lot of automated search tools you can use. You don't have to grind out a Google search. Can you go find out what they might have on our guy, or our client? So that's what's going on, is like criminal defense attorneys and PR people. Like I said, there's suddenly a whole bunch of demand. And this is like if you're, when I used to invest heavily in tech, and I still invest, but when I worked in the industry, if semiconductor orders were up at Applied Materials, then, or the machines to build semiconductors were up, then I would know to invest in semiconductor fabs. So it's the same thing. What I'm saying is that the amount of activity for professionals in certain fields, like private investigators and criminal defense attorneys, PR people, that's way up. So that shows you both the victims are hiring attorneys to position themselves. And there was a big press conference where one attorney came out yesterday, and there's a lot of people coming forward. So the victims, attorneys for the victims, or the people who were involved. So I just want to talk about the P Diddy thing, possible Scientology tie-in. Of course, Ashton Kutcher had been mentioned. He's Scientology adjacent, if he's not a crypto Scientologist himself. Will and Jada Pinkett Smith were crypto Scientologists, certainly during that period where Tom was trying to recruit them. So I as a PI, I wanted to put together a couple things, and I'm enjoying all the YouTubers, because I got to tell you, this is where YouTube is phenomenal for open source intelligence gathering, for information gathering. The YouTubers are so good at getting data, and a lot of it's way too late. Once P Diddy was indicted, the feds and a lot of bloggers and YouTubers already had scoured the internet. So it doesn't do these people who are involved any good to take down content. It's way too late. Plus, you can use the Wayback Machine. Plus, you can use a lot of other things. So, generally, if you were involved and you think you might have some criminal liability, you're going to want to know what the feds have on you. And that's going to take a researcher, because you don't know. And that might take a PI to go out in the street and talk to some people. And, but I think the FBI substantially already knows and what's involved. I was out last night and man, I got to tell you, the phone calls I've been getting, I was out doing something. I was like, getting a lot of phone calls, So this is going around the local legal and private investigative community. And I want to share with you, so that I made my point there. A couple of things that stand out to me and this is, I'm going to build a kind of my theory of some stuff that hasn't been shown, that doesn't make sense to me. So this is Southern District of New York, of course. They put out a press release when they indicted P. Diddy. Okay. Now this is I read the press releases all the time from the Department of Justice, and they're very uniform. So the charge, this is a RICO, and there's something unusual about it, which I'll show you. But that's the press release that was put out September 17th. And when they do these press releases, they'll always have a statement from the U.S. attorney, and it lays out the charges in a general description. And it also gives, if there's a task force, you can see this this email address, sex trafficking outreach at HSI DHS government. So that is Department of Homeland Security. That's how big this thing is. And they also have a tip line, 1-8774 HSI tip. And then they have the indictment, which they unsealed the indictment, and you can read it. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show you the indictment. And so when this came out and it was public, the feds already had everything they needed. They'd been working on it for a long time, and they're asking victims to come forward. And I mean, it's a big case. I've looked at cases for a long time, and what stands out to me, they're already telegraphing ahead of time to these people who may have gone to the freak ops, who may be involved and somehow may have been an enabler, an agent, employee of P. Diddy. Mr. Williams praised, and again, Mr. Williams in this case, if we go back up, he's U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. So when you get U.S. Attorney Southern District, that's a big player in the Department of Justice. That's a major official. So Mr. Williams praised the outstanding investigative work of HSI and the Southern District of New York Special Agents Digital Forensic Unit and the Complex Analytical and Social Media Enhancement Team at the New York, New Jersey High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. So again, you have the Digital Forensic Unit of the FBI, Complex Analytical and Social Media Enhancement Team. That basically means they're going to take everything offline and they're going to look at everyone involved, and they have unlimited resources to do it and unbelievable computational power and programs that are not available to the public. This case is being handled by the office's Civil Rights Unit in the Criminal Division. Assistant U.S. Attorneys Meredith Foster, Emily A. Johnson, Christy Slavic, Madison Reddick Smizer, and Mitzi Steiner. The charges contained in the indictment are merely accusations. The defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Okay, so this is really interesting because they're telling, in my opinion, the DOJ in this case is telegraphing anyone who might be guilty, like maybe you should come forward with your attorney and talk to us, because when you get the Complex Analytical and Social Media Enhancement Team of the FBI, and they have tie-ins to Department of Homeland Services, Department of Homeland Security, the NSA, the NRO. I mean, they're telling people, we know who you are. And if you know how to read these things, they're telegraphing. They're saying, we know who you are. If you've been on social media, and there's so much of this case that's been on social media, there's so much evidence, so many statements, so many photographs, so many videos. There is so much evidence out there. It's staggering because this has been going on since 2008. And there's even things that go earlier. So yeah, that's why you need your complex analytical. That when you hear the terms coming from the government or the military, complex analytical, that's a high level capability. So I just wanted to show you that. Now we're going to look at the indictment, and there's something really strange to me about the indictment. And I just finished covering a financial crime, a $1.8 billion Ponzi scheme owned by a Scientologist. That took 5 years. But the investigative power, this is going to go a lot quicker, I think, and I'll show you why. But one thing that stood out to me that didn't make sense was the indictment, and I'll show you why it didn't make sense to me. The indictment of Mr. Combs did not make sense to me. It was a sealed criminal indictment, and then they released it. So, okay, now this is a RICO case. RICO means there are predicate crimes. You have to have predicate crimes to get to racketeering, Influence Corrupt Organizations Act. So you have to have predicate crimes. Okay, there's predicate crimes here alleged. You also have to have conspirators. A conspiracy, by definition, is two or more people agreeing to engage in criminal activity. That's a conspiracy. You can't charge one person with a conspiracy. By definition, it has to have two or more people. Sometimes it has dozens, as I'll show you. Now, this indictment only charges Sean Combs, and yet it's a RICO. He's the sole defendant, and that's unusual. That's very unusual to only name one defendant in a RICO. But you can go read it. This is available online. You go to the Department of Justice website. I'll post it on my blog. Now, it talks about the overview of the case. And if you really want to see what the government's position is for yourself, read the legal work, because there's a lot of opinions, and a lot of them are very interesting online. And then it goes into what's called the Combs Enterprise. And it talks about, in this particular paragraph, it will say where my mouse is pointing, members and associates of the Combs Enterprise. So that means these are the co-conspirators, members and associates of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitutions, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson. There's even arson alleged. Like, what did they burn down? Bribery and obstruction of justice. These are very serious felonies. These are the kinds of mafia level crimes. You have to have a sophisticated organization, a lot of money to do this stuff, especially to keep it under wraps for so long. And they're charging, they mentioned California law, and they mentioned kidnapping as related to California law. And then they describe the purposes of the enterprise. And so I would say read this if you really want to know the basic government position, and then it will help you understand what's being discussed online. I had to read it a couple times to, and then something occurred to me. So, I mean, when you have arson, and they mentioned freak off by name, so that term freak off was used, and that's the specifics they have. And what went on in the freak offs. And obviously a lot of work went on before they indicted Mr. Combs. This had been going on. And he had to know that this was going on and this was coming. So did a lot of people. Now, one reason they would have denied Sean Combs bail is that would eliminate his coercive factor. With him sitting in jail, he can't be out on bond coercing people or tampering with witnesses. So locking him away removed his coercive power. He can't coerce anyone where he's at. And but that doesn't mean his agents can't. But then you would have to worry if you were an agent of Mr. Combs, you'd certainly be wiretapped. I would think the government would wiretap you to make sure you don't engage in coercion or witness tampering or felony obstruction. But again, there's only one defendant named in a RICO. So there will be a superseding indictment. And because there's going to be more people coming out, and I think the government, my opinion is the government is giving people time to come forward, maybe arrange to surrender themselves or turn over evidence or cooperate. But I'll tell you this, the amount of lawyers, PIs, crisis management people, fixers, and other people being hired, it's almost like the tide being pulled out to sea. That many resources being employed is like the tide pulling out way out to sea. And then what happens next is a tsunami. It comes back inland. Because when the tide goes way, way out to sea, you know that there's going to be a tsunami coming back. So, because that much talent costs a lot of money. Lawyers and PIs and other experts are not cheap at all. And that's why wealthy people can afford them in cults and the common people can't. So if you've been victimized by this, there's the number that I referred to earlier. Please do come forward. You can get protection from the government. I'm going to show you, I'm going to switch gears and explain why I'm doing it. Okay, so it's strange that they only named Sean Combs in the RICO indictment. It's United States of America versus Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love. So this was a grand jury indictment, and it was sealed until they released it. So now switching gears, but I'm going to show you how the law works and why this is strange. Today in my hometown, I'm going to share this screen. This was something it's really interesting. This is a true RICO case. Okay, now this, I'm going to show you two things and why it's strange, just by way of, how the government does stuff. Okay, this is a press release today, Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, from the United States Department of Justice. 68 defendants charged in indictment of dozens of members and associates of California white supremacist gang. So the feds, I'm going to just read this quote. Federal and law enforcement today arrested 42 members and associates of the San Fernando Valley Peckerwoods, a San Fernando Valley, California-based white supremacist street gang, on a 76-count federal grand jury indictment, alleging they engaged in a years-long pattern of racketeering activity that included trafficking of drugs, including fentanyl, illegal firearms possession, and COVID-19 benefits and loan fraud. So you have these dozens of members indicted. Peckerwoods, of course, is a term for Caucasians, whites, in the prison system. It goes on. The Justice Department has dealt a decisive blow to the San Fernando Valley Peckerwoods, a violent white supremacist gang that we charge is responsible for trafficking deadly fentanyl and other drugs, committing robberies, and perpetrating financial fraud to fund both their criminal enterprise and that of the Aryan Brotherhood, said Attorney General Merrick B. Garland. With today's charges and arrests, the Justice Department, together with our state and local and federal partners, has targeted the heart of this gang's operations, and we will continue to zero in on the criminal enterprises that endanger our communities. Now, this was interesting. This press release is the actual United States Attorney General, Merrick Garland, commented on it. That's huge when the actual Attorney General, not a U.S. Attorney General, has happened with Sean Combs, but the actual United States Attorney General comments. That's a big case of a violent white supremacist gang, San Fernando Valley, Peckerwoods. But here's what I want to show you. And I'm going to stop sharing this. Here's what I want to show you. And I showed you it for a reason. I showed you Sean Combs' indictment for a reason. It only names him. We're going to share the screen, and I'm going to show you the indictment of the Peckerwoods, San Fernando Valley Peckerwoods. Now, on this indictment, it was filed September 26th, but it looks like they arrested everyone today. It looks like, there was a 6 a.m. door knock by a huge amount. It had to be hundreds of agents. But when you read this is Central District of California, which covers Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles, including San Fernando Valley. It's United States of America. And if you look on the right, you can see the plaintiff. You can see the defendants. Unlike Sean Combs, which is a RICO case, this RICO case, which you can see on the right, it's racketeer, influenced, and corrupt organizations conspiracy. But look at how many. All the defendants are listed, beginning with Patricia Haviland, also known as Trish, also known as SFV Mama. And then it goes on and lists, I believe, 42. So you can see on the left, all of the criminal conspirators in this RICO are listed by name with their AKAs. Now, in the P. Diddy indictment, only Sean Combs is named, but it does allude to people in his organizations, his companies, his enablers. So the government knows who they are, but they did not name them. That's why I'm saying there's going to be a superseding indictment, because on this one, look at this guy's name, Chase Austin Flack, Taylor C. Bingman, also known as Scummy, also known as Scumfuck. Wow, that's scary guys. So the question, one of my questions is, why didn't they name more of the defendants? Because the government's gonna charge people. And so that's one difference I see. They didn't name more defendants. One name on a RICO. When they charged the Peckerwoods here recently, they named 42 of them on the indictment. So that's a big difference. And I want to know why. The government knows, because before they had a grand jury, I don't know how long it went, but before they issued the indictment on P. Diddy, the grand jury would have heard from a lot of people. I don't know if people made deals. That's some of the talk. I don't know if people are going to cooperate. There's just not a lot known, and there's some, and that's why I think people who may have some culpability in this have hired PIs and lawyers to say, I want to know what could happen to me. What's the worst case? What's my course of action? What do the feds know? What do you hear on the streets? When someone's guilty, they want to know everything. And if you watch interrogation tapes, the great police interrogating people, I'm sorry, they're called interviews when the cops call you in. The person being interviewed or interrogated, they'll be trying to figure out what the cops know on them, and it's a game. It's a head game where the cops might give them a little something or nothing. And so yeah, that's what's happening. These people who are involved in the freak offs in some way, or are in the human trafficking, kidnapping, they're going to want to know, what they face. So I'm going to switch gears. This is something I reported on, and it didn't occur to me until what's gone down with P. Diddy. This is a story that I'm going to move it. I published this in January of this year. And it only occurred to me today that maybe there's a link. So this is a theory I have. And when you do any kind of work, PI work, the police have to do the same thing. Science, you do the same thing. You have to have a theory and be prepared to throw it away, because this might not be correct, but this certainly is suspicious to me. So I'm going to introduce someone first. Let me get him. Okay, now this is Michael Citrick. He promotes himself as one of the top crisis control managers in America. He wrote a book called The Fixer, and I don't think he's using it like in the sense of like Anthony Pellicano as a fixer, or Pulp Fiction's Winston Wolfe, played by Harvey Keitel. The Fixer: Secrets for Saving Your Reputation in the Age of Viral Media. So Citrick had clients, including Harvey Weinstein. So he's on this little blurb on his book, he says that over the years, clients of Citrick and Company have included the late Hewlett-Packard chairman Patricia Dunn, Roy Disney, Rush Limbaugh, Michael Vick, Alex Rodriguez, and the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, and the Church of Scientology. So Michael Citrick has done crisis management for the Church of Scientology, Archdiocese of Los Angeles, and we'll get some of his other clients in a moment. So just keep him in mind, because I'm going to get right to him and why this is really interesting as I dig into it. Because I'm following this. Everyone is following this case. I'm like everyone else. I want to know. So I'm going to put Citrick right there for now. Now, when Harvey Weinstein, he was paying something like $35,000 to $40,000 a month to Citrick's firm when the thing happened. And as I reported on my blog, the Hollywood Reporter said that Harvey Weinstein was dropped by crisis PR firm Citrick and Company when things went from civil, because Harvey Weinstein initially, when the allegations surfaced, he said that the women were all gold diggers out for a big payday. So did Danny Masterson. That's what rapists always say, So Weinstein became so toxic that he actually dropped Weinstein as a client. Okay, so we have that there. And I want to, let me take that off screen. Okay, so we have that. And let me see if this is what I want. Okay. Okay, here's what just give me a minute. I thought I had a screen up. Yeah, I need to get Citrick. I had an article up. Oh, here it was. Okay, I had it. Okay, I'm going to share something that I published earlier in the year, and then it may be something, it may not, but I want to share it with you. So let me yeah, this is an article on my blog, the Scientology Mini Project, published January 5, 2024. Scientology, stolen computers, and LA Fixer, 1 degree of separation from Jeffrey Epstein. What happened is Jeffrey Epstein was paying Michael Citrick $30,000 a month to handle his PR at one point. And on January 1, 2024, this year, the Los Angeles Office of Crisis Manager, Michael Citrick, also known as the Fixer, was broken into this past holiday weekend all the computers and servers were stolen. There were no signs of forced entry. It looks like an inside job. But so all of Mike Citrick, and he handled a lot of people. His computers were stolen in January. And, this was when that famous picture of him with Prince Andrew, Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew. Anyway, the computers in the Ultimate Fixer's office were stolen, and now they were stolen this year. Now we're going to go. Do I have the picture here? So I'm going to tie this all together. And this goes maybe to the demand. There's a picture of Citrick's office over on San Vicente here in Hollywood. So, Citrick did work for the Church of Scientology, a lot of other powerful people. In fact, let's just go to his website. So we're going to go to the LA Business Directory. And okay, here's what I want. So we're going to show you something, Citrick, his client list, because it's going to tie in. Okay, so let's share this. Okay, now this is the Los Angeles Business Journal. It's really a great journal. It's been around for decades. I used it in my sales career for many years. It's part of the LA. If you're part of the LA business community, you read the LA Business Journal. It's a great publication. So they did a thing in 2022 on Michael Citrick, the fixer, the guy who works for Scientology. Harvey Weinstein, he dropped as a client. Citrick and Company. Now, on this list, individuals, his clients include Tony Braxton, Aaron Brockovich, David Duchovny, Hulk Hogan, Sean Combs. Wait a minute. Sean Combs is one of the clients of Michael Citrick. And Sean Combs knew a long time ago that the FBI was looking at him. And all the computers were stolen from Citrick's office on January 1, 2024 this year. And P. Diddy was a client of Michael Citrick. So the question becomes this. Did Citrick have data on P. Diddy and the computers that were stolen? No signs of forced entry. Citrick said that after the break-in. Why was security so lax? If you're a high-dollar fixer, if you charge, Jeffrey Epstein $30,000 a month for your services, why is your security so lax that someone can do a forced entry in an office building on San Vicente, which is a wealthy part of West LA? You should have a burglar alarm as a minimum. I mean, you should have motion detectors, burglar alarms. You should have your computers locked down, multi-factor. I mean, you should have all the possible security you have. And you can even, people don't know, but you can bolt computers down and you can construct them in such a way where the hard drives are destroyed if they're accessed. I mean, there's so much you can do for security, but these computers were stolen. So my question as a PI, was there information about the freak-offs on Citrick's computers? And that's just a question. I could be wrong. I'm just saying that when I started putting the time frame together, and it was almost like Epstein was a red herring because the break-ins led one to believe that the computers were stolen in relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, when in fact, that might have been a red herring. So if there was data, and again, this is just a theory, on the freak-offs or anything else on my Citrick's computers, did it get out? Who has it? And I could be wrong, that maybe there's no data, but there was a lot of data on Citrick's computers. We don't know the extent of it. And, what happens when that goes on. So I want to give you that as a background, and certainly there would have been data on the Church of Scientology. One supposes that would have exactly said what Scientology wanted Mike Citrick to handle. So this just gets deeper. It's just there's so many dots that connect. So the break-in at Citrick's office is interesting. The fact that Sean Combs is the only defendant named on a RICO indictment, where that's a conspiracy that requires more than one person to have a conspiracy. So many unanswered questions. I just wanted to add in some of the things I saw in the case that were interesting, and also give you news from the Hollywood Grapevine that there's plenty of work if you're a PI, criminal defense attorney, a fixer, crisis management person. You might know that something critical negatives coming out about you in the press in a big way. You might want to get ready with your statements ahead of time. That's probably why all the crisis management people are booked solid. And this sudden demand, this drain on resources for lawyers and PIs could leave the Scientology short, because they're one of the biggest consumers in LA of lawyers and PIs, and in other cities as well. And so this drain for this demand for private investigators and lawyers is not confined to LA. It's going on wherever P. Diddy had freak offs. New York City, I understand Miami, a couple other places. This, wherever people are situated, maybe some of the people live up in, really affluent areas, maybe the Hamptons, places like that. Certainly it's Calabasas, I know. And that tells me something about there, which I'm not going to get into right now. And so there you go. That's just what I wanted to share with you. And let me just look at the comments, because I haven't even looked at those. And okay, yeah, that could be it. That the fixer here. Yeah, the fixer fixed his fix. I wonder what Michael Citrick's thinking. He would be he would be a guy that would not be available for interviews.
For 6 class. The street see the PR wearing a black and gray camo shirt in front of the building will direct to suspect well spanner, blue orange shirt, blue pants, correction, blue jeans with a bicycle in the parking area. Potential for secretary there already.
They're getting the suspect. Okay, so let's see. We got some interesting comments. Okay, now let me see, because okay, they're talking about this. I'm just looking at the comments. Peckerwoods, that's a very derogatory term here in the South. Just saying, yeah, but in California, prisons and the gangs is not. It's not a derogatory term. They wear it as a badge of pride, Peckerwoods. But I understand. I appreciate you weighing in. There is terrifying gang, and so we're asking what's on the docket. Jamie Kelso was a right-hand man to David Duke. Before that, he was a Scientologist. Yeah, I did a piece on Manson yesterday, and if I can get the documents I want, Charles Manson's time in Scientology, I'm going to do more on that. Switching to big screen in my world domination headquarters. Everyone should have a world domination headquarters. David Miscavige has that one. Hi, Rich's girl. Hi, I finally made it live. Thank you. I'm hoping all these arrests of Diddy, Kelly Epstein opens the doors for the government to start in on Scientology. Thanks for that. Well, you're welcome for the video. Yeah, it's sort of like it's different, apples and oranges, but under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, they would amend that to include religious workers. The Congress would do that, but you never know. See, this is why your question is good. You never know. You might be onto something. If the computers in Citrick's office, which were stolen on New Year's Day because I guess I could be wrong, but he didn't have a burglar alarm, a basic burglar alarm on his office with so much sensitive client data. I don't understand, but okay. So what if something about Scientology was on, in his files? I don't know. He's worked for him for a long time. We never know if the dominoes start tumbling. And like, people have mentioned Ashton Kutcher, who's Scientology adjacent, certainly. Aaron Smith Levin mentioned that his assistant was a Scientologist. So he's could be, so who knows where this goes? Was P. Diddy ever in Scientology? No, not to my knowledge, Nilsa. Well, you locked down your new computers, Osa. Please take time to hit the like button. Yes, Osa and others, please take time to hit the like and subscribe button, because I'm not a big channel, but I do stuff for my audience. And it's interesting that some of the feedback I get. I'll give you an example. When I did the thing on Charles Manson, since we're talking crime, let me go there. When I did the thing on Manson yesterday, let's just go, since we're talking. I raised a question in my video yesterday. Did Charles Manson attend the opening of the Celebrity Center? And that's the old Celebrity Center. Because what happened is, when I was doing some research, oh, now I've lost it. Oh, here it is. I found this newspaper article where the LAPD wanted to talk to L. Ron Hubbard about Charles Manson, because Manson had been a member of the Church of Scientology. And it said that he was he had a grievance against the former movement. It also talks about the murders of 3 Scientologists, and right near the Scientology communal house. And here's one reason I really like to do a blog. Now, the feedback was an interesting thing. Cliff Jones, you should read that. I'll just read it for you. Bruce Davis was a member of the Manson family, still alive and in prison currently. He was probably in England at the time of the Tate LaBianca murders. He was supposedly connected with Scientology at the Tottenham Court facility in London. There's something for apostate Alex to investigate. There was also a former Manson member who was killed in London at the time with multiple stab wounds. He was the husband of one of Manson's girls, and apparently was in bed with the family for trying to get his wife out. Case never solved, but Bruce Davis likely suspect. That first Celebrity Center building was on 8th Street, a block over from Alvarado. L.A. Org was a block down at 2005 West 9th Street. I've seen a picture of Manson at that place. So everyone listening, and I know Liz Gail is interested, we have to find the picture of Manson at the Scientology org, okay? Because Cliff's saying he saw a picture. So all the internet salutes, let's find Manson at Scientology. We know that he, according to the LA Times article, let me finish this. A few blocks down from Alvarado was Beacon Street. It was a street of big old houses. One or more of these houses was used as sort of boarding houses for public and staff of LA Org, Celebrity Center, and Advanced Organization Los Angeles. Asheville was a little further away. I believed Bruce Davis lived there in one of the houses with Doreen Gall. She was one of the people who were, or one of the Galls were murdered, and maybe the 2 other victims from the article. Yeah, Doreen was murdered. Again, Bruce Davis, likely suspect. He was also one of the murderers of Gary Hinman and Shorty Shea, another victim who was killed at Spawn Ranch. Bruce was not involved in the main Manson trial. He turned himself in around the end of 69, early 70. Very definitely crazy as a loon. I think he was only convicted for Hinman and Shea. He was also involved with the Russian roulette killing of one of the Manson family, for which no one was convicted. It was a Russian roulette with a fully loaded revolver. So this kind of stuff is one reason I like to do my blog. You never know who's going to give you what. So in that way, you never know if P. Diddy is in some way, or some of his people. You don't know if P. Diddy or some of his people are connected to Scientology. Because if Ashton Kutcher had a Scientology assistant, there could be some Scientologists in the mix. The interesting thing this article says is that Beach Boy leader Dennis Wilson, along with Gary Hinman, who was murdered by the Manson family, they attended what appears to be the grand opening of the Celebrity Center along with Charles Manson. And that was the old Celebrity Center, which I showed a picture of. So according to the LA Times, and the reason I like this is a contemporary report. Before Scientology tried to destroy Manson's files or hide them or deny that he was ever in Scientology, the LAPD knew from sources in their own investigation that Manson had been in Scientology, was very involved, and he was around the Celebrity Center. He went there with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, and we know that Manson associated with the Beach Boys, and Gary Hinman as well. So this is the kind of stuff, I'd like to get that picture. And the question that I was asked, certainly was what everyone else asked, a lot of Scientology critics, is P. Diddy a Scientologist? Not to my knowledge. Could he have had Scientologists work for him? Most definitely. That could be a very real possibility. And were they involved in any of the freak-offs? Maybe. And the reason I say it is Scientologists were involved in covering up for Masterson, who used drugs to immobilize his victims so he could engage in SA, and that's why he's away in prison. So I think it's more than 7 degrees. I think there might be 1 degree of separation. Again, that's why I'm focusing on Calabasas, where a lot of this goes on. Oh yeah, we had that comment. So anyway, that's it. And let's see if we have any true crime. It looks like I was listening to to my police scanner just to see what was going on something. I was waiting for something to kick loose, and I don't know if it has. And it was just based on a tip. You can go to YouTube and put in your city and listen to the police scanner. I have a scanner, but you can listen to it on YouTube. So interesting stuff. If you want to email me, please reach out to me through my channel. And that's it. We're going to and thank you for being here. We're going to make it short. It's not too long, but I covered what I wanted to say. And so I'm looking at the break-ins, and if it doesn't, if there doesn't amount to anything, it doesn't amount to anything. But it might. We don't know. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in.